and welcome back to Kim Reads. We continue with Pinocchio. Chapter 16, Pinocchio Meets the Shark. Pinocchio ran so fast that upon reaching a cliff next to the sea, he couldn't stop. He plunged right over the edge. He inhaled a great deal of water and thought he would drown, and perhaps he would have had 1,000 fish not suddenly surrounded him. Sent, they said, by fairy. The fish began to nibble on his ears, his nose, his neck, and his mane. One fish even did the great favor of eating his hairy tail. When the fish were done eating all the meat, they came to the bones, or rather, in Pinocchio's case, to the wood that the puppet was made of. But it was a very hard wood, the kind that gave fish indigestion, and so they swam away and the puppet was saved. Pinocchio was a light and bouncy puppet once more, and he turned to and started to swim out to sea. Soon he spotted a large white rock in the middle of the sea. On the rock stood a little blue goat, bleating and beckoning to the puppet. Something about the goat seemed familiar. It was her blue hair, Pinocchio realized. It reminded him of fairies. Kicking his legs in harder, he swam toward the rock to greet her. Just then, however, a horrible sea monster with huge head lunged out of the water in front of him. Do you know what it was? None other than the enormous shark that has already been mentioned in the story. "Look out!" bleated the little blue goat, and Pinocchio tried to look out. He swam and kicked as hard as he could, but it was no use. The monster opened his mouth, and Pinocchio disappeared into it. Pinocchio found himself resting on the shark's tongue, in between 3 rows of gleaming white teeth. A sight later, however, and even with chewing him first, the shark swallowed the tiny puppet as easily as if he were a pill. He sucked Pinocchio down into his stomach with one satisfying gulp. Pinocchio must have fainted from fear or hit his hard wooden head during the fall. When he awoke, he could not remember where he was. It was pitch black in that shark's stomach. Once in a while, a cold breeze blew. Some time later, Pinocchio remembered what had happened and realized the breeze was from the shark breathing. The poor shark was suffering from asthma, so it was some breeze. Pinocchio burst into tears. "Help, help," he cried. "Oh, poor me, won't someone come to save me?" "And who do you think will hear you and help you in here?" asked a rough, gravely voice beside Pinocchio. "Who's there?" Pinocchio whispered. It turned out the voice belonged to a poor, tunny fish which had been swallowed by the shark. "What kind of fish are you?" the tunny fish asked. "What are you going to do?" Pinocchio replied, ignoring the question. "Wait until the shark has digested us both, I suppose," the tunny fish said in a resigned voice. "But I don't want to be digested," shouted Pinocchio, starting to sob. "Neither do I," said the tunny, "but I suppose dying this way is more dignified than being fried up in a pan." Pinocchio guessed that the tunny was right. He was more grateful that he was no longer covered in flour, but unlike the tunny, he refused to give up so easily. Just then, about a mile in the distance, Pinocchio thought he saw a faint light. Thinking that he might find some poor swallowed soul, possibly a wise old fish who might know how to escape, Pinocchio vowed to reach the light. "Come with me," Pinocchio suggested. "No," the tunny sighed, "I'm too scared to try. Good luck and goodbye." Well, that's it for that chapter. See you next time.